What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Winter Wolf's Den. Winter Wolf here, competing with the first breath of winter coming through. It's chilly in the den here today. So we got the hoodie up, we got the hat on. Pay it no mind. I'm trying to warm your spirits, warm your cold little hearts with my takedown of Willow on Disney+. Surprise, surprise, 2022 had one more absolute bomb to offer before checking itself out and into the wild. This is undoubtedly the worst thing I've seen this year by far. It outpaces She-Hulk in terms of its absolute laughability in craftsmanship and writing, and it also manages to outstrip and outshine in terms of total suck Resident Evil on Netflix, which was the early 2022 contender for worst show I've ever seen. But Willow manages to just absolutely dunk on the both of them, and it's sad because of the three IPs. I felt like this is the one that could have been something decent in the hands of competent people. But at this point, I feel like Lucasfilms is like the T-800, or they're sent back in time by Skynet to just absolutely slaughter the IPs that they have on the record and just absolutely make them unrecognizable, when stacked up next to the quality of things that they had, in the earlier part of their runs. Willow was a relatively mediocre movie back in the 80s, but it was heartfelt, it was genuine, it was adventurous, it was fun. It didn't break any new ground in terms of, practical effects, storytelling, anything like that. It's very hero's journey. It's nothing you haven't seen before. But again, everybody kind of took it seriously when they made it, so the action beats worked, the comedy, when it was there, they had some slapstick, all of it kind of worked. And if you were the right age and the right mindset, you probably really enjoyed it. I just watched it the other day, and I still think it holds up in most of the places there. There's a lot to enjoy in the movie. The score is really good too. It's got a really good adventure theme to it that kicks in all the right places. But sadly, all of that is missing here. And what this show does, it offends on several levels. I think the first and largest thing that kind of pisses me off through 5 episodes, and I've sat through 5 of these already, there's more. And that's depressing, that this is actually going to carry through into 23. So that's like a double kick in the nuts right then and there. But the first way this offends is that I think they knew this was going to suck ahead of time, because there's an overwhelming serving of nostalgia just absolutely crammed into this show, where it's like every episode features an entire, orchard worth of member berries that aren't even really used in conjunction with any of the story elements they're trying to tell. They're literally just there. They're set dressing. We have references to people and places and objects and concepts that never really get developed from any of the current characters in these shows. They're really just there as bait, as guideposts for maybe older fans or fans just familiar with the older movie. And it's offensive actually in a lot of places. In particular, out of episode 4, they were at Nockmaar Castle, which is, anybody who's seen the original movie knows that was the base of the original lead villain, Queen Bavmorda, evil sorceress supreme kind of thing. And there's a possession angle that gets worked, and the character that gets possessed literally says to Willow the first sentence of dialogue that Mad Mardigan had said to him in the original movie, and Willow doesn't respond to that at all. He wouldn't have fucking remembered his who becomes his best comrade in arms throughout the film, the thing that man said to him, especially when it's voiced through a character that's 20 years too young to have known him. So but they threw that line of dialogue in there. Also in that movie, just in terms in that particular episode, in terms of nostalgia, we get to this end point at the end of the episode where the villain asks Willow, how he can hope to defeat, the evil, whatever the crone or whatever it's called, right? And this motherfucker right here looks at the camera like deadpan. And it's like he was trying to channel every little bit of, Aragorn at the Black Gate, or, Tony Stark, Captain America. And he was trying to channel his own little Avengers Assemble moment. And he says, "with my friends." And then literally through the haze of the nostalgia cloud of ethereal magic going on in the episode of characters from the old movie, his current band of companions come pressing through the mist to save the day. And that's in episode 4. You just met these people. They're not your friends. They're not battle allies that you've had. It's just stupid. It's unearned. And that's the problem, just like She-Hulk and just like Netflix's Resident Evil and all these other D and F tier shows. They always try, and Rings of Power, they always try to hit these beats like they've earned them, and they haven't. So they come across as flat and false and phony and fucking stupid. And it's just obnoxious to watch it happen to one more franchise, especially one I liked as a kid. Like, this was like sword and sorcery, some swashbuckling, horse chase having, Hydra fighting, demon death dog. This had some shit when you were like 12. This was a good movie, right? But none of this is present in the show in any meaningful way. The second way this bullshit show offends the senses of a storytelling, this is the stuff I try to actively avoid writing into my projects, right? Is nobody in this show can be evil for evil's sake. It's always somebody else's fault, right? Case in point here in this show, they go out of their way to state that the evil villain from the first movie, who literally just had a perfectly defined sense of ambition and like lust for power, she was kind of just an evil bitch, right? They had to make it that way. It wasn't her fault, and that she was corrupted by another evil influence, and it just hadn't been her own desire for power, right? And then in episode 5, they want to go so far as to take General Kale, who was probably my second favorite all-time movie villain behind Vader, right? I'm gonna put his picture on the screen. General Kale right here, right? He's a bad motherfucker in this movie. He was evil. He ran people down. He skewered them. He stole babies. He was the man. Of course, they had to make him out to be yet another guy who was, enslaved by one kingdom or another, and who's made a deal with Bavmorda. If his people would be loyal to her, she would help him overthrow the masters, yada, 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 right? I'm like, okay, maybe, but then fast forward to the fucking movie, and this dude's like slaying innocents by like the fucking dozens. Like, we get twisted about the Vader redemption arc, about how he turned on the Emperor and like saved the day, which he did. It doesn't fully absolve him of the genocides he committed, we all know that. And the same shit here, it's like they don't get that about Kale. Like, he did like ignorant evil shit, after he was freed, if he was a slave in the first place. So they remove all menace, basically, from one of the scariest motherfuckers I've ever seen on screen. And I hate that they did that to him. And I'm gonna get into like the third thing, the third segment of things that just absolutely suck about this show is, again, on this fucking streaming service. I don't understand it, because the numbers just don't bear it out anywhere that this is successful for your storytelling and your product. Every dude on this show is a fucking pinhead. All of them. They're all weak. They're all weak-minded. They're all stupid. They're all bumbling comic relief. Dude, Borman on this show, who's supposed to be kind of an Indiana Jones explorer soldier type that rode with Mad Mardigan, he's okay because some of his comedy works, and he actually is, like, in the limited combat scenes they've had, and they've had like 5 episodes, and they've all been junk. There's nothing special. He's okay because he kind of looks the part. He's kind of tall and lanky. It looks like he could hold his own in a fight, I guess. So, I mean, that kind of works for him. But they also go out of their way to make sure that either of the two teenage girls can best him in hand-to-hand combat. They go out of their way to put him in positions where he's either hit in the nuts or almost stabbed in the nuts, or they put him in like a barrel of sewage to get out, to escape a fortress kind of thing, and make a comic relief of him like blowing bubbles and like, shit dog water. It's just stupid. The other massive offender here is Willow himself, and it's depressing to know that he purposefully took a page out of the Mark Hamill playbook from The Last Jedi as the inspiration for the character here. Like, bro, what were you thinking? When the Disney guys got on the phone and said, hey, we know it's been 30 years, we'd like to bring Willow back and see what we can do with them, you should have jumped on that and brought some of the pep in your step that you brought from the original movie, but you didn't. Every single scene this dude's in is delivered with like the flattest affect that if I was on the clock, I'd be calling a doctor in and, maybe do some kind of neuro assessment, because I'd be wondering whether or not this dude knew where he was or had a stroke, because every single effing line he delivers is flatter than a tabletop. It's painful to watch. I'm not trying to say, because this has been mentioned in other places online, I'm not trying to say Warwick Davis was ever going to be like an Oscar winner anywhere or anything like that, but I generally enjoyed his performance in the stuff that I've watched him in. I liked him in the Leprechaun series, and he was a funny little fucker delivering all them lines with kind of a malicious glee that kind of worked. I liked him in the original Willow, where he was a young man with a young family. He was the underdog, aspiring sorcerer that just, he wanted to find his place in the world and finds himself on a quest to deliver the baby back to her people. And, plot aside, go watch Willow. Good movie, right? But what he's emoting in all the scenes where he's supposed to be afraid, he's afraid. Where he's supposed to be excited, he's excited. When he sees his wife at the end of the movie, like when they reunite, it's actually heartfelt. Like they emote well. But here, literally, this guy switches between realizing the woman he's with in the party is a Laura Dannon and not being impressed. He has scenes where his party comes under attack by lethal threats, doesn't lift a finger to help, changes no expression. Like he has two looks in this show. And that's it. Like that's what you get from this guy here. Like this is the epitome of you've mailed in your performance, and I just think it's sad. Like this is disappointing because it's got none of the charm of the original role that he had brought to the screen. The other male characters we got here are either killed off or they're off screen through 5 episodes, so like you can't judge any of their performances because they're already gone, and we haven't added any new characters back in to be attached to develop with. On the subject of shit male characters that they have, they purposefully, right, made mention that Mad Mardigan, the role made famous by Val Kilmer in the original film, right? Again, Disney with their absentee dad bullshit. They made Mad Mardigan Han Solo in this movie from the sequel trilogy. You get that? He walked out on his family and never came back. His wife holds it against him. His daughter holds it against him. The son doesn't, but we haven't seen the son in 4 episodes, so it doesn't matter because he's the Mimbo that needs to be rescued by this team of, ragtag group of dickweeds that are probably going to get themselves killed. With any luck, they'll all die because I can't take season 2 of the show and there's no way it's going to get one. But Mad Mardigan was like a swashbuckling badass motherfucker from the original movie that like one-on-one General Kale and beat him, right? But in this, he's an absentee dad that can't be asked to be in the show. And what makes it really like just insidious and kind of just evil and malevolent how they did him, right? They couldn't get Val Kilmer to do the role because at the time during COVID precautions, Val Kilmer, as you may or may not know, has a number of significant health issues and didn't want to run the risk of exposure, which is understandable. Like my man's, I think he's in his 60s and he's had health history issues for a long time. So, more power to him for staying safe. But then they could have written him a similar beat like they did in Top Gun Maverick, where they just mention that he's somewhere doing something great and he'll be in touch with his family soon. But they went out of their way to make it an abandonment issue. Once again, taking down a great male character for nothing, for no benefit, because it hasn't come back up in the show again. It makes it a complete waste of an iconic role. Fucking hate that. Right? Let me swing right into the female characters right quick. Does anybody like any of these women on this show? Like, they're completely insufferable. Sorsha's kind of a bitch, no reason. She inherited Tira's lean. She's leading peace and prosperity in the kingdom. All seems well. Dude, her oldest daughter, the daughter, I think that they might be twins. The daughter, Kit, like that's another female character with a dude's name, whatever floats your boat, I guess. Right? I'm just gonna call her Princess Rory Gilmore because that's exactly who this character is. Every character in this show talks like they're on a current day CW teen drama, and it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It sounds completely out of place, as much so as the stupid ass current day scoring of like Metallica's, Enter Sandman that they play in episode, or these other covers of famous like upbeat rock songs that occur in episode. Like, guys, what show is this? This is Sword and Sorcery. It makes about as much sense as having the fucking Backstreet Boys make a cameo in Game of Thrones. You think House of Dragons is gonna pull some bullshit like that? No. Figure your shit out. Tonally, it's all fucking wrong with these characters. And none of that makes sense. It's like I'm starting to track like the worst quips in each episode that just absolutely take me out. And in episode 4, we have the Borman character, he's trying to lay into one of the other guys, whose name is Graydon. So he says, okay, Beyonce, let's take it down a peg, or something to that extent. I'm like, who the fuck in this world knows who Beyonce is? Like, calling it Beyonce is only hypothetically funny to the audience, but it tonally destroys everything you were trying to do within the context of your story. You can't have dialogue like that. And like at one point, Willow's referencing toilets. And motherfucker, there's no toilets here. This is like 800 AD. There's no toilets in this kingdom. None. Zilch. Zero. It'd be about as much sense as one of these guys asking like, hey, are we gonna get good Wi-Fi where we're going? Like, no, dipshit, you're not gonna get good fucking Wi-Fi. You're just not. God damn. I haven't been fired up like this in a hot minute, because at least like when I watched Wednesday over the last week, I actually enjoyed that show. And none of like the writing that you got on that show, you are not getting on this show. Believe that. It's not present in Willow at all. And that leaves me on the last segment of things to absolutely hate about this show. And I'm sorry for the rant. I know I get a little rapid fire when shit pisses me off, but this is one of those things that make me really fear for the future of other IPs. And I know we're not out of the woods yet with Indiana Jones 5. In all likelihood, that's going to suck. But we still have things like Fallout. We just found out we're going to get God of War from Amazon. So there's other things that I'm nervous for now. You know, Halo 2, Halo Season 2 is coming, I guess, which is fucking sad. I'm going to destroy that, I'm sure. But in world here, the writing is so poor, so inconsistently garbage, that they make multiple, like, plot inconsistent choices in every episode. Like one of those moments that I mentioned earlier where, you know, they're trying to play on your emotions to get you to feel like they earned your, to get, that they made you feel like they've earned your interest, that they hooked you enough to make you feel for these characters as they suffer, die, succeed, win, celebrate, all these things, right? But they make these dumbass choices. And most recently, in this episode 5 that I'm watching, it got me thinking. The episode opens in a daylit scene where our heroes are running away from the group of like uber baddies that the evil power has sent after them. And a fair point, the creature design on some of these mini bosses that the evil power has are actually kind of cool. They're going to remind me of some Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Evil Within. There's a gothic vibe to it that's actually not too bad, but it's not enough to give the show a passing mark or anything. But anyways, the good guys are running away during the day. They're like, okay, whatever, and it just looks stupid. But as they're getting to this point where they're making their escape into the Wildwood, which is clearly just a rip of fucking Mirkwood from Lord of the Rings. It's a forest that if you spend too much time in it, you'll find yourself lost forever there because of a spell. All right, way to borrow the trope, guys. But as they're running away, Willow all of a sudden pulls out like the fucking staff and uses it like a flamethrower and just absolutely lays the smackdown on some shit. And I'm like, dude, your best friend died 2 episodes ago. Sorry for the spoiler, but really nobody should watch this. In a battle that you refused to lay a finger in until he had been mortally wounded. Like, where was your flamethrower from minute 1 versus the 3 human people that were attacking your group? You could have roasted them, you didn't do it. Stupid point number 1, just from this one episode, because I'm not going back to rewatch 1 through 4. Fuck that, not happening. But then the other stupid ass thing that happens is the entire story, the entire narrative through line they're working with here is Princess Rory Gilmore and her ragtag band of dipshits need to rescue her brother who's been captured by the evil power and sacrifice and soul transplant to bring dark god. I mean, if you've read anything in Dragonlance or Forgotten Realms or any other millions of Final Fantasy games, any fantasy genre stuff, you know what the show is. Like it's basic bitch at the worst level, right? So they're in hot pursuit of this brother to go rescue him. They take this entire episode to get captured, have a big character reveal, which hits on nothing because it's not properly foreshadowed at all. But then they spend 45 fucking minutes doing feelings at a festival, feelings at a bonfire, feelings in the woods, feelings during dance rave, right? While during this episode, lamenting the fact that, you know, the prince was still out there and we got to get moving to get him, like we're on the clock. But y'all motherfuckers have time to stand around and you know, have your little party. And it's just, everything's wrong. The clock is wrong. The plot's wrong. The characters are awful in this. There's nobody likable. You know, the one decent takeaway, is a brief ass cameo from the character Rule from the original movie, who was one of the brownies. He's hilarious. It feels like he stepped right back into the role. He's just older, but he looks the same, but the accent's on point, the voice, and the execution, how he delivers the lines, they're all on point. And I feel like, why didn't you send Warwick Davis some crib notes on the old movie with like how to do this? Because you were the only enjoyable part of this episode. And I don't even know really what you did here, except entertain me for like 12 seconds. I don't know how you furthered the plot. You gave Willow a map or some shit, but like he already knew where to go. I don't know. It was just fucking dumb. But that's this went like 20 minutes. Sorry guys, appreciate you sticking around if you did for the rant. But this show has been like a rusty cheese grater to my nutsack more than any other show this year. I hope there's only 8 episodes of this. If this was like a 10 or a 12, I couldn't do it. And I hope to God it doesn't come back for a season 2. I don't think it will. The numbers that I've seen just in terms of viewership, it looks like Samba TV has this show clocked in at less than 500,000 viewers for the first 2 episodes, stretched across the first 5 days of release. So, I mean, that basically means nobody's watching this show. And as I'm showing you on the screen right now, this is the Disney store online, Disney.com, their eShop or whatever. As you can see here, they got some Willow merch, but everything here is from the movie in the 80s. There's not a single piece of sellable Willow series merch that's here. Even if you look here, the Willow doll itself is actually the Willow character from the original movie with the baby in the backpack that he used to transport Allura across country. So there's no merch for any of these new characters. There's no T-shirts. There's no bumper stickers. It's just bad. This isn't driving subscribers. It's not driving watch time. This show should have been 10 times better than it was. I mean, it could have been a C in the right hands, but this is an absolute fucking bomb. But that's it for me, guys. I appreciate you guys checking back in to the Winter Wolf's Den so I can just discuss Willow with y'all right quick on this Thursday night going into the holiday weekend. So if I don't see you until then, have a happy holiday, drive safe, drink responsibly, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.